Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. This is actually one I didn't know was coming out until like the middle of last week. It's the David Lee Roth, the Warner recordings from 1985 to 1994. So I got it. Didn't even read up on this at all, but I'm not prepared at all to babble about this, but I did listen to it, so I got that far with it anyway. But I guess since I did all the Van Halen ones, I figured I just naturally thought I should do the David Lee Roth one. I just kind of instinctively got it, and didn't even know what it was until I received it here. And just a quick little thing for me is, like, David Lee Roth was like the man, like the front man to be back when I was really getting into music, early 80s. I was learning how to play guitar, and Eddie was obviously the man. So when he left, it was a big speculation of what was going to happen with Van Halen. What was David Lee Roth going to do? Because we had heard the Crazy from the Heat thing, and that was so far removed from anything Van Halen had done. It was kind of interesting, and kind of all wondering what the first album, proper album, I guess, that David Lee Roth was going to do was going to be like. And of course, we all know what it is at this point. It was very similar to the style he'd done, with a lot of added extra things. But anyway, when Skyscraper came out, I was actually lucky enough to see him on that tour. And the funny part was, it was Poison opening up. It was the very first day of their tour for Open Up and Say Ah, and I got to see that, and I was like 5th or 6th row or something like that. So that's always been like one of the huge deals for me. And Billy Sheehan was in the band. I'm fairly close to the Buffalo area where Billy Sheehan is from. He was in a band that was very popular in the area here when I was growing up, and he is actually one of the reasons I wanted to play bass and get into just performing and doing music, because obviously, if you know anything about Billy Sheehan, he's insanely good. So that being said, there's actually, I think there's one new song on the very last CD here, but other than that, there's really nothing new here. It's just a remaster box set of just the 4 albums and the EP that was done in that time frame. The funny part was, I never really cared for the Crazy from the Heat EP, I'm not going to lie. I kind of buzzed through it real quick here. I didn't listen to every song, just kind of wanted to get an ear for what the remaster sounded like. I didn't listen to the whole thing. Went straight to Eat 'Em and Smile after that, and just kind of went through it one after another, which is normally what I do when there's no bonus material. So there was none on this, so that's what I did. And just refreshing my brain on everything here, because I have not listened to this stuff in quite some time. And I kind of remember that it was Ted Templeman that had produced both of those albums, the EP and Eat 'Em and Smile. And I remember when this came out, my buddy bought it first, because we used to, each of us would buy one thing, and then we'd kind of swap and make copies of them. Early file sharing, I guess, if you will, back in those days. And he's the one that got this one. I remember driving around in his car listening to this, thinking, wow, some of these songs are awesome, and some of these songs are not. So going back and listening, I kind of have that same feeling on it, but I appreciate the songs I didn't care for back then a little bit more, as far as musicianship goes, because this is, Steve Vai, obviously. Everybody knows Steve Vai was on guitar on this one, and how insanely crazy and good he is. And the first thing we heard was Yankee Rose, and what he did, making the guitar talk and all that stuff was pretty cool. I thought back then, still think it's actually kind of cool now. He's just insanely good. And listening back to the stuff I kind of skipped over back in those days, listening to the guitar playing and the bass playing on this, it was actually kind of a different perspective on it years later. The funny part is Shy Boy. I remember that being, I was in a college band, and there was one of the other college bands that was playing did this song, and I think it was just mainly to show off how good the guys were in the band, because this is one of those ones that has the bass and the guitar solo going along together. Not one of my favorite Talas songs, so I don't know if it's only because Billy Sheehan wrote this one that they used it, probably, but there's much better Talas songs than that one. But anyway, I'm not going to run through every little thing, but it did have some of that goofy, to me, songs like they had on Crazy from the Heat on this one. And so I was kind of like 60% of this I liked, 40% I didn't back in the day, and listening to it now, I'm probably about the same, but at least I appreciate the musicianship more. And that carries us over into Skyscraper, which I haven't mentioned quite yet. The remasters on these do sound brighter as far as things go. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I never had any issue with the original sounding albums. Sometimes, I've said this a lot of times, with the remasters you lose a little bit. Like that fullness is just gone. I guess that's, so many people think that is muddiness. When you clear things up a little bit, you can hear things a little bit better as far as individual instruments, but that's not always a good thing. I don't think it did much one way or another for me anyway. I've always been able to hear the instruments pretty well, but it did sound a little bit brighter overall on every single one of these. It wasn't like one was better than the other. Every single one of these CDs had that same feeling, just sounding a little bit brighter. However, it did reveal the production styles a little bit differently. For instance, Ted Templeman produced those first two ones, a little bit more bare bones. This is where Lee Roth and Steve I took over production on Skyscraper. And funny enough, I like the production on this one better. And the songs are, for me, I enjoyed the songs better. They seemed more cohesive as an album. He still has a little bit of his Rothisms going on, but the little doo-woppy type stuff on a couple of these, but or whatever you want to call it, lounge music, I guess, sometimes, but I don't know. This one had a more cohesive feel to it for me. Still mainly the same band, I believe. Yeah, it's the same band. They added a little bit more on keys on this one than they did on the original too, or on the Eat 'Em and Smile, I should say. A lot of keys on the Crazy from the Heat, but there wasn't a whole ton on Eat 'Em and Smile. A lot more on this one. This one's more like it was geared towards radio, maybe, I don't know. But then my quick little take on that one. The one that I was really looking forward to hearing again, because I have not listened to this in a very long time. The funny part is I was just talking to my son about Jason Becker here a couple weeks ago, and his whole story. And this is how I came to know kind of who he was. I'd heard the name before, I think he was on Shrapnel, if I remember right, maybe, I don't know. But this is where I really came to know him. Pretty much the whole band had changed at this point, except for Greg Bessonette on drums. He got his brother joining on bass on this one, and then a whole bunch of extra people joining in. Steve Hunter was also on guitar on this one, had a lot of the writing on here, but he had a lot of other co-writes on this one. He'd kind of added, and this is also produced by Bob Rock too, which I actually, had forgotten he had produced this one, honestly. So the production on this is really good. It's got that feel that Bob Rock, aside from Metallica, like the other bands he produced, has got that feel to it. And the songs on this one, overall, I enjoyed. It's got a little bit more of the, David's just got a personality. He actually, the funny part is, he gets a lot of slack for his singing, but he actually can sing. There's no, auto-tune or anything like that back in the day when all these were made. He actually had to sing this stuff. It's, live stuff is a different story altogether, but he actually did really cool stuff on here, and he's got such a personality in his vocals that if something was off, it kind of made up for it. We didn't care. So anyway, I prefer that, honestly. I kind of prefer the personality in the singing and stuff than I do everything tuned to perfection. That's just my taste, but other people might disagree. But Jason Becker on this album, insanely crazy guitar playing, very tasteful for the songs though. It wasn't like shreddy, although he can definitely shred on some of these. Not much writing that he did on here. A couple, like the last two, was the only thing I see on here for writing credits. So, but anyways, guitar playing is great on one of my favorite albums of Lee Roth, actually. And that leads us to Your Filthy Little Mouth, which he once again switched producers on. Got Nile Rodgers on this one, who's most known for disco and a little bit of a funk type feel. Or even pop stuff, because I think he did stuff with Madonna around this time, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this album definitely had a whole different feel to it. Of course, a completely different band, not anybody carried over from the last one. And the songs are kind of, for me, all over the place. We've got Terry Kilgore co-writing a lot of the stuff on here, but it's just a completely different style of playing. For me, it was the weakest one out of the bunch. I really have not listened to this one in, like, I can't even tell you how long. It was a fun listen. Didn't do a whole lot for me, even listening to it again after all these years. But after being all said and done with this, actually I'm not even quite sure why I bought this, because there's nothing really new here at all. And the remasters are okay, but for me, it wasn't worth, having this all over again, although it was fun listening to everything again. So that part of it was fun. Not sure if it was worth the price of the box set to do that, but that's up to everybody, I guess, their own personal choice. As always, we'll ask you to feel free to leave your thoughts, your comments, and whatever. And like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, because I really hope he does some more stuff. He's teases us all the time, but nothing new. There's this unreleased album out there we still haven't got, that we've heard talk about with John 5, I think, was the guitar player on that one. I keep hearing, bits and pieces of stuff that happened from that, but not the whole thing yet. At least I haven't. If there's a bootleg of it out there somewhere, that's cool, but I haven't stumbled across it. But anyway, until next time, we'll see you.